Hello, gamers. How are you? I am back from my journey. It was quite the journey. Sadly, I didn't record it. I got a bunch of pictures, which I will show throughout this video, I guess. I just want to go sit down and relax a little bit, just talk about my adventure. Because it was quite the adventure. I had a straight up Lord of the Rings style adventure. I just want to sit down and talk about it. So if this is not your thing, that's alright. Go see my other videos that have funny ha-has in it. But right now, I just want to chill. Alright, I just want to relax. Because I have another trip coming up in a few weeks. So I just gotta relax a little bit. Let my nerves calm down. But yes, I went on quite the adventure towards the biggest mountain in my home state of Oregon called Mt.Hood. I don't know what I was expecting. I knew it was gonna be pretty. I knew it was gonna be jaw-dropping, but I wasn't quite expecting this. I didn't do the whole thing. I said I was going to, but the timing of the whole hike just did not work out. Not only did I get there late, I realized how sore I was getting and how tired I was getting, and if I would have kept going, I have another trip coming up in a few weeks. I would have just been a zombie, and I want to enjoy my time. But that's not to say I really failed anything, because good lord, I think like 20 miles in total in like a few days, a day and a half. Most of it's on a singular day. The original plan was for me to get dropped off at the Timberline Lodge, which is this gorgeous giant lodge that you can walk into, and there's like a whole like guest area. You can even stay there. It's like a little hotel. There's like several bars and restaurants in the lodge itself. But the plan was to get dropped off there, do the full 40 mile trek all the way around Mt.Hood back to the lodge, and then I'll call somebody and get picked up. That was the plan. Sadly, we left a little late, so I couldn't really do whole much of the trail on the first day. And the first day was a little off. I don't know. That day was just a little weird in general. But the first day was spent. I was hanging out at the lodge. I walked around, checked out the bar, checked out the little guest area. It was a very, very cool vibe. I'm pretty sure in the movie The Shining, the outward shots of the hotel, that's from the actual Timberline Lodge, if I am correct. I'm not exactly sure on that. The first day I start a little late. Fine, completely fine. I'm just cruising. Alright, I'm vibing. I am taking in the scenery. The trail was really sandy because of just how high up I was. It was just all alpine forest, and it was by far the most gorgeous hike I've ever been on. I've been on a lot within the past year. I've been on a lot of different hikes, and that takes the cake for the best one. Just by the first day alone, it was so gorgeous. I was in and out of these little canyon areas, and then I went down into this little river ford. It wasn't like a crazy river, just a big creek. It was like little offshoot from the glaciers, because there's glaciers up there on Mt.Hood. Crossed that, and then once I went back up, once I crossed the river and it shot back up into the ridgeline, I found a very nice hiker. He was kind of a homie. I started on a weekend. That beginning portion of the trail was super popular, and all the camping sites was taken. Like, I saw so many hikers up there, and this one very nice hiker saw me alone, solo, and the sun was setting, and he was like, "Hey man, I have a little extra spot next to me, like right next to me. I have plenty of room. Come hang out with me." And he was he had a big old mustache and a straw hat, and he was just vibing. I was smelling a little of a little bit of the ganja coming from his campsite, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the crowd I want to be around. And he had a little hiker buddy with him. She was nice too. They were both really nice people. I just tucked away in my little corner. It was the most gorgeous campsite I've ever slept at. It was right on the edge of the canyon. One of the canyons. One of the many canyons that I'll be in throughout this journey, but it was right on the edge, and I had a hammock. So I set up the hammock, and I was just reading throughout the rest of the night. I was just reading my book. I brought a little book with me. I was sitting there vibing in my hammock. looking off towards the ridgeline where the sun was setting, and I just saw mountains, all the mountains. It was absolutely jaw-dropping. I wasn't feeling the best, like physically. I don't know what it was. I really don't know. I just wasn't, like, physically wasn't the best. Emotionally, like, that took a toll on my emotional health too. I was just a little out of it that first day. I was just not on my A game. Because I probably could have went a few more miles if I was, like, centered, but I was just not. I didn't eat a whole lot that day either, so maybe that was a factor. But when I went to bed, I didn't take this into account. Mt.Hood she's a big gal. All right, she's a big girl, and at night, in those canyons, get a little windy. I didn't take that into account, so I woke up in the middle of the night. I didn't even notice it at first. I just heard a bunch of rustling, and I thought my neighbors were getting out of their tents to kill me or something to put me out of my misery, because I just heard a bunch of, like, rustling in the tents and like people grabbing stuff. I was like, what is that? What is happening? Then I realized my hammock was flying around because the wind from the canyon was blowing up on the ridgeline, and it was just throwing me. I didn't even realize it because I was just chilling in the hammock. I was swaying back and forth like really wildly. But my neighbors, they were grabbing all their stuff and putting it into their tents. Because it was getting that bad. Like, they were worried. But my stuff didn't get blown around, so luckily. I had a lot of important stuff lying around, and luckily it did not get blown away. So I just cozied back in my hammock and just let my neighbors do their thing, and I went back to bed. And I woke up around 7 a.m. No, 6. Sorry, 6 a.m. Tried to eat, but my stomach was still just out of it, man. I was just not in it at that point. So much so that after I packed up, and I thanked my hosts, wished them luck, and it wasn't like even like half a mile on the trail, I started puking, and that's not normal for me. I don't know what it was. I was like actually just sick, just straight up sick, just puking, and I took like a 20-minute break, just kind of like centered my mind. I'm like, okay, I need to like at least try to eat something. So I grabbed a little bar, and I just nibbled on that a little bit. I just relaxed. I really centered my mind. There's no way I gotta. I still gotta try. So, I just took a 20-minute break, and I got up, clipped up my backpack, and just trucked it. I just trucked it, man. I just kept going, taking pictures, really enjoying. I can't wait to go back. Seriously, I cannot wait to do that trail again. I kept going. And it was just ridgeline after ridgeline, canyon after canyon, just back and forth, up and down, up and down, up and down. Each canyon was getting more and more scenic. I looked down one canyon, there's a waterfall tucked away at the bottom of the canyon. Some of them had gophers. I saw a gopher, man. A gopher was just chucking. It looked like he was doing it on purpose. He would like run up the side of one of the hills, and just like get a rock to just roll down the hill towards the trail that I was on, and he would just stand there. He would just stand there and just kind of watch it, and he would do it again. I'm like, this little bastard, trying to get me killed. And throughout this whole hike, I was seeing hikers all over the place, and runners too. A lot of day hikers, a lot of campers like me, and a lot of just runners. Like it was so many different types of people, which honestly I liked. I liked just seeing a bunch of different kinds of people, because throughout this whole trail, there are like campsites and like waterfalls and stuff like that. So they all had like parking lots and stuff. So like almost throughout the whole trail, there is a way to bail out if you need to, which is very nice and a luxury that I don't typically have. So you would see just random people throughout like a good portion of the trail, just like regular people, not crazy hikers. And I saw some people running, a lot of elderly people just absolutely out of their minds running this trail for some reason. I don't know how they do it. They're like 60, and they're just running up the side of Mt.Hood. And the second day, this day was the most mileage I did. I think I did like 10 miles. I stopped here and there to take breaks. I stopped by a creek after one of the canyons, made some tea, made some food, made some chicken and rice, kept on going, and I found my first like actual like river ford, which was interesting. It's one thing to cross something like that, just having a good old day with the boys. That's another thing when you have like a 40-pound backpack on your back. It gets a little spooky, but that just added more to the adventure, baby. That was just so much fun, trying to figure out how to cross this like glacier ford, and then after the glacier ford, trying to find the trail again. That was really cool. I had to like meander my way through the sand and the rocks and stuff to try to find the trail. And then after that river ford, I followed the trail for like I don't even know, maybe like another mile. And then I hit a fat campsite, which I was so confused. I was following like a like a map, but it wasn't a very good map. And I knew the general area where I was this whole time. But I was just confused. I just crossed a river, and all of a sudden, these fat spots of campsites were just there. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it took me a while. It took a little bit of a break, because I was trying to figure out what this place was. Because there's like little offshoot trails throughout this whole like section of campsites. And I was like, why would there be a giant campsite in the middle of nowhere? It just makes no sense to me. Eventually, I just continued on the trail, and it led me up to Ramona Falls, which is a very popular waterfall on Mt.Hood. And that just explained it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Ramona Falls is very, very popular, and I saw a bunch of different people there. I took my lunch there. It was like 2 at that point. It was like 2 p.m. I just took a fat break. I was relaxed, mingled with the people there, hung out, let my socks dry because they were soaked after the river, and just kind of took in the waterfall because that was very pretty. And then once I had the gumption, I went back onto the trail, and it was a steady incline for like 7 miles. It was bad. It was so bad. And not only that, the first person was fine. I dealt with it. Like, I just trucked it. It's fine. But once you go up and then turn around the ridgeline, it was a good 4-5 miles of nothing but downed trees. Downed trees. It was a 4 to 5 mile quick time event. A giant windstorm. Like I couldn't imagine the level of winds. Thor himself conjured these winds. I saw it. It looked like just God was like, nah, and he just swiped his hand down the mountainside. It happened a few years ago, and I remember it happening. And there was like signs warning, like, hey, yeah, technically we cleared it, but it was still, the trail's still super rough. Yeah, I just did it. Climbed log over log on this ridgeline, still going up and down. It was still, the incline did not disappear just because there was logs in the way. It was rough. That was the roughest part of the trail. And it took me way longer. It took me like 3 hours to do it. Yeah, that was rough. And that was the only time my legs started to feel it. I was like, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little sore after this. Just constantly 40 pounds on my back, just grappling around logs and stuff. Yeah, it was a good workout. And I set up, the moment I started to go down towards another river ford, I was like, yep, nope, I'm setting up camp for the night. And at that point, I had a decision to make, because I was pretty deep onto this trail. I know I could finish the trail. I know I could, like, I'm making good time at that point. The second day in, and I am 10-ish miles on the trail. Like, that's not bad. The first day, I don't even really count the first day because I just barely got onto the trail itself. I walked a few miles and was like, yep, set up camp next to a big mustache hippie. Second day, 10 miles, that's not bad at all. But I knew for a fact I was going to be dead and I was going to need to recover. And I wanted to enjoy my coming up trip. So I was like, okay, I'll make the decision in the morning. The Timberline Lodge, I had no service. I had service for like the beginning portion of the second day, but like there was a point where I had full bars, and the moment I started going down into the canyon, to one of the canyons, it just dropped off the face of the earth and I never saw it again. Full bars and then nothing. So I had no way to contact anybody, even if I wanted to get out, because there's no way I was going all the way back to the Timberline Lodge. The plan was to go back through the logs and back down to Ramona Falls and just figure out a way, because there's a parking lot there, just figure out a way to get service or something. And I let that up to future Brenton to decide, because I was like, nope, I am setting up my hammock that night. I'm going to have some dinner. I'm going to read my book, write in my journal, and just relax. I'm going to chill out. And it was a vibe. But there was one thing that threw me off, and I even searched it online to see if there's any other accounts of this, and I never heard anything, right? I've never heard anyone have the same accounts of what I went through throughout this whole trip. And I got to the point where I just had to ignore it because I just didn't know what to do with it. But something very spooky was going on throughout the entire trip. I kept hearing voices. Hear me out, alright? I wasn't in a panic state or anything. I wasn't freaking out. I was fine. Even when I was reading my book, I would genuinely hear voices coming up the trail. And I would wait. I would wait for my new neighbors to come up. Nothing. I would hear voices coming from down the trail. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Straight up full on conversations sometimes. There were two voices talking back and forth. And at some points I thought maybe it's a weird echo. But even then, most of the time it's just a ridgeline, right? So eventually I would have to see those people, but nothing. Straight up nothing. And at first it freaked me out. The first couple times it happened where I genuinely heard somebody, and then nobody came around the corner, or I came up on nothing at all. It freaked me out. But by the third day, or the second night, honestly, the second night I got used to it. I was like, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know what that is, and I'm not testing fate, okay? I'm not gonna question it, okay? I'm just gonna read my book. And I would actually keep hearing the voices. They didn't go away. I would hear the voices down the trail, as if they were coming towards me. They were coming as I'm reading my book. They didn't just disappear because I'm ignoring them. They were still there. People were having conversations on the trail, just down there. I don't know what that is. I tried looking online on what the hell that could possibly be. No idea. Nobody had the same accounts as I did. It was so strange. And then in the morning, I was still sore. I was still sore from the logs, the 5-mile logs grapple. So I was like, yeah, there's no way I can be okay on my next trip. I was gonna just be a complete zombie. So I was like, okay, the timing just isn't gonna work out. I packed up my stuff, ate a little bit of a breakfast, and went back to the logs. Started my morning at 7 a.m. climbing over logs. Now that's a morning to start on, baby. And surprisingly, there were a few people down at Ramona Falls at 8 a.m. once I got down there. I sped run those logs, dude. I sped run those logs so fast. It only took me an hour when it took me 3 the day prior. I sped run those logs so quickly. There were some hikers, and they asked me how bad it was. I'm like, hey, that's all right. You got it. And then I found some day hikers, some daytime boys, just daytime boys. And I was like, hey man, you got service? And they're like, no, hell no, we have no service. I'm like, well shit. All right. I'm just gonna head to the parking lot then. And at that point, I didn't realize from Ramona Falls to the Ramona Falls parking lot was 3 miles on top of that. Found this very nice German couple, and they're like, hey man, listen, if you're still at the parking lot when we're done at Ramona Falls, we'll give you a ride into the nearest town. I'm like, oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much. Because honestly, that's all I really need. I just needed service so I can call somebody to come pick me up. Because if you don't know, I live 3 hours away from Mt.Hood. There's nobody nearby. I would have to call somebody, like figure something out. So I just kept going towards the parking lot. Hopefully I would find somebody. Nobody had goddamn service. So many like day hikers came in with their families and whatnot. Not a single lick of service anywhere. So I just hung out at the parking lot, relaxed, had some, like ate a little bit more, just kind of got some nutrients in my system, and waited for that German couple, if I'm being completely honest. But before that German couple showed up, it was that first couple of day hikers, and they're like, "Oh shit, you're still here." I'm like, "Yep, I'm still here." And they're like, "You know what, man? We can take you into town. This itty bitty little town called Sandy. Was it Sandy? I think it was Sandy. Yeah, Sandy. They were very nice. That two couple. Thank the Lord for them, cause I was stuck. I was stuck bad. Very nice couple. And I showed up in town, and I almost wish I just stayed on that godforsaken mountain. I felt so out of place at that point. That was my third day in the woods. I had a backpack on. I looked dirty. I looked disheveled a little bit. And and this is in the middle of the heat wave that was going on. It was 70 degrees on Mt.Hood, 103 in Sandy, the nearest town down below. That was the difference. That's how high up I was on Mt.Hood. But I had quite the experience in Sandy. And honestly, I don't regret a single thing I did on this trip. It was such an enlightening experience. Because of my current condition with my fat ass backpack and my dirty appearance, I was welcomed, like fully welcomed into the local, I don't even know how to explain them. I'm just gonna say lower class. Because they're not homeless. Like, a lot of them weren't homeless. There were a few homeless people there. A lot of them had jobs. A lot of them had some form of housing. I don't like calling them homeless if they're not actually homeless. They thought I was one of them. So I just hung out with them for the day. It was actually like they weren't bad. It wasn't a bad experience at all. They weren't like crackheads. They were just down on their luck. I want to go back to Mt.Hood at some point in the future. Maybe actually record it and do the whole thing. Because that was the most gorgeous trail I have ever been on. And I would like to actually take you guys there at some point. That would be so... And you gamers, hope you enjoyed my story. Go on an adventure, alright? Go touch some grass, alright? Go talk to your friends. Go reach out to your homies. Say how much you appreciate them, alright? Because life is short. Life is very short. In a blink of an eye, you're not going to be here. Go take a hike. Go on an adventure. Have stories to tell. See you all later. Hey gamers, how's it going? Are you a true gamer? Are you one of those gamers that need that little boost, that little pick-me-up? Well, your boy got partnered by Dubby, a delicious energy drink. Little energy powder. These delicious little powders. They come in tubs, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but they are delicious. By using code CRANCLAN, you get 10% off your next order, and you're also supporting the channel, so I very much appreciate it. Have a good one. Goodbye.